Hello everyone, in this tutorial we are going to make the bullet projectile spread system with equal angles, and the system doesn't limit to odd numbers or even numbers of the bullet projectile spread. So let's get started. What I mean about the bullet spread system is not the shotgun bullet spread system, which the bullet spread randomly from the gun. To make it simple to understand, in some games that either the player or the enemy will spawn or fire the projectile. Something similar like unleash the sword slash or multiple number of sword slash. So let's take this here for example. If I press Q over here, it spawn 3 bullets, and you can see that the angles are spread evenly or equally. So let's say that you want to spread like even numbers like 4 bullets. This is how it looks like. 5 bullets on numbers. And this is how it looks like. And one more thing is like 6 bullets, even numbers. And this is how it looks like. Of course, you can manipulate the angles. Depends on your setting itself. Another example is like in Zenith Zone 0, you can see that there are 3 sword slash spawned from the characters, and the angles are equally even. Also, it doesn't matter how many sword slash you want to spawn. Okay, although in this game they only spawns in odd numbers, but in this tutorial we can also cover up with the even numbers as well. So what do we need in this tutorial? Well, we do not need anything like no need to download or prepare any asset for this tutorial, as everything can be done by using Blueprint. And as for the bullet projectile itself, we can actually use the mesh in the game, or inside the engine I mean. Okay, one more thing is that be mindful about one thing is that this tutorial is not beginner level, as it requires logic and math calculation to understand the system itself. The first part we will create is to spread the bullet projectiles in odd number. Before we do that, we need to create the bullet projectile actor. So let's go to the content drawer here, and then right click and choose Blueprint class over here. And we select actor. And we just rename it as BP bullet projectile. And we select it. As for the mesh for this bullet projectile, we just go to plus add over here and type mesh. We are select this mesh as the mesh for this bullet projectile. We just choose this. As you can see is that the size of this bullet projectile is too big, so we just need to scale down its size. So we just change all these values 1 to 0.4. Okay, I think this size should do it. And the next thing is we need to add the projectile movement component. Just go to plus add over here and type PRO, and then you just select projectile movement over here. One more thing is that we need to disable the gravity of this bullet projectile, or otherwise when it spawns in the game level it just falls to the ground. So we just type gravity, and then by default the value is 1, we just change it to 0. One last thing is that we need to set up the initial speed over here. You can just set any values that you like, but I just following up the what's it called again, the showcase, I mean the speed itself. So I just change it to 100. Well, if you think 100 is a bit too slow, you can just set it like 500 or 1000, whatever values you like. You want to set it to a bit faster for this bullet projectiles. And next we just compile and save all, and we just can close down the bullet projectile since we have already done setting up the bullet projectile itself. And the next things we need to do is go to the third person characters. So just go to third person blueprint and select this. And as for the key for spawning the bullet projectiles, I just use the key Q. Under keyboard events and then choose Q. You can choose any keyboards that you like, or any input actions that you want. So next thing is we need to go to like type for loop. Let's see over here. As for the last index over here, we just need to set up a variable for it, and then just right click it and then promote to variable. As for the name, I just put it as last index odd number. Okay, remember to compile it or else this default value won't show up anything else. Okay, so as for the odd numbers, for testing purpose, we can just set it at, we need to spawn the bullets like three bullets at the same time. So as for the last index odd number, I just type it as 2. No need to worry about why I just need to put the 2 instead of 3. I'll explain the reason why and some of the equations and explanations afterwards. So before that, we just follow all the steps that how I set up all this stuff, and after that you understand how I'll explain how it goes. So next thing is we need the go to index. We need to subtract it. As for the numbers, we just need to put it as 1. And last thing is we need to multiply. Oh, okay, I think this should be okay. And the next thing is we need the spread angle itself. So the spread angles is, okay, we just go to variable over here and change the variable type to float. As the name, we just can change it as spread angle on number, and again compile it, and the spread angle I just change it to like 30 and drag it out, then connect it. And the next thing is we need the angle offset. So create another variable, okay, float angle offset, and compile it. And this time we don't need to add any values for all these angle offsets. So but except we need to change it to set angle offset instead of get, and then connect it. Loop body over here. And the next thing is we need to go to spawn the bullets itself, spawn actor from class, and we need to choose the one that the bullet projectile that we have created. So since I've named it as bullet projectiles, just over here, choose this. As for the spawn transform over here, we just need to right click it and change to split. Let's go with it. Okay, just split it up. As for the all we need to tweak is the location over here and the rotation itself. We just leave the scales over here. We don't need to do anything with it. As for the actor transform location, we can just use the actor location over here, or maybe we just create a mesh over here. Just instead of just spawn it from the characters itself, we just spawn it somewhere in front of it. So we just go to add over here, we just type mesh cube over here and just drag it to a bit in front of it. As for the scale, let's see. Okay, I just put it like 0.5. As for here, z-axis, I just choose it at 0.3. Okay, let's see. Sorry, y-axis I just changed to 0.25. As for x-axis, I'll just change to 0. Oh no. I think it's a bit too big for over here, but it doesn't matter. I just change it. You can scale it down or scale any values that you wanted. But for now, in my settings, I just changed to 0.75, 0.25, and 0.3. As for the cube, we just call it as cube spawn point. Okay, then we just go to event graph and drag there. And the location for that is we just need to choose get world location and connect with it. And next thing is the rotation itself, and copy the cube spawn point over here to here, and we need to get world rotation, and we need to break the rotator over here. Okay, since we have the break rotator, so we also need the make rotator itself. Over here, X is connected with X, Y with Y, so we don't need to do anything else with the row and the pitch. What you need to do is the yaw itself. So we need to add it. Maybe it's this one. Yeah, this is the one. And then drag the angle offset over here to here. And we need to collect with the spawn transform rotation. Okay, I think this that's all for it for the odd numbers part. Okay, we just compound it and let's test it out. Okay, so if since I already set up the odd numbers to like 2, okay, the first index is 0 while the last index is 2, so 0 and 2. So which means it should spawn 3 bullets and stuff. So let's press Q over here. As you can see, it spread 3 bullets here. Nice. Now we have done setting up the odd number part. I'll be explaining how it works. The explanation only just full of talking without doing any work, so can just temporarily leave the keyboard for the time being. So let's start with this part. As you can see is that the first index is 0 and the last index odd number I set it as 2. Okay. Originally we want to like firing the 3 bullets projectile, but why do I need to set the last index odd number to 2 instead? Well, so this is how it works. As you can see that this is how it works, like the result it shows up like 0, 1 and 2. The reason for that is that, okay, it's written over here. So number in real life, so it's 1 and 2 and 3. So yeah, it's true, it's 1 and 2 and 3. So this is how we think about it. But in number in computers, every value that is start from 1 is 0 instead. So that's the reason why that, as you can see, is that by default for loop, the first index is 0. Okay, before we do anything else, like I connect it with it, the first index is 0 and last index is 0, not instead of 1. Okay, compile it. So that's why the value over here, like what I've set it in, like the last index odd number is 2 instead of 3. So any numbers that you want to think out for the odd number, it has to minus by 1, and then the value, the result, you just put it over here. So because we spawn 3 bullets, so we just 3 minus 2, so 3 minus 1 equals to 2 over here. And I think you have already noticed about that. Why do I need to note down there's the middle number or index and circle 1 over here? Well, this is how it works. Since there's a minus 1 over here, there's not such things like there's a kind of formula that everything that I need to do for the odd number part, it has to be minus by 1. That's not the case. Actually, this minus 1 is actually the middle number or middle index for these 3 bullet projectiles. So this is how it looks like. So it's 0, 1 and 2, because since 1 is the middle for these 3 bullets over here, so that's why we need to minus by 1. And you can think about it. So how do we need to like calculate the middle index? So this is how it works. This is the formula over here. So it's middle index, total bullet desired to spawn. The total bullet desired to spawn is based on the number in life over here. So let's say that if I want to spawn a 7 or 5, because everything is odd numbers, so like 5, okay, let's here we say it's 3 bullets over here, so 3 divided by 2, so it's 1.5. But here is the case. You need we can see that there's a remainder value over here. We can just ignore the remainder value. Also, you don't need to round out, because if you round out like let's say 1.5 equals to 2, so 2 is over here, so that's not how it works. And 1.5, because we need the values not without the decimal value, so we can just ignore the 0.5 over here, so we just need the 1. Okay, so another example is like, let's say I want to spawn 5 bullets. So how it works for the 5 bullets is over here. Okay, as I've already mentioned, so the last index on number it should be 4, like 5 minus 1 equals to 4. So here it's a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's like, in real life, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 bullets projectile over here. And the next thing I need to like explain about here is there's an angle offset as the spread angle odd number. Okay, I will explain the spread angles over here much more easier to explain it. So as you can see that there is a 30 degree 30.0 is actually as the 30 degree between this bullet and this bullet projectile. So it's 30, 30, 30, 30. And one more thing that is you already saw that there's a angle offset over here is because the angle offset is the amount of rotation we give each bullet so that it points in the correct direction in the spread. So instead of everything going forward, we offset the spawn direction by a small angle to like left or right based on their position. So as you can see that like there's a left as for the right. So here's the formula over here. So the angle offset is like total bullet desired to spawn minus up middle index multiplied by the spread angle. So the spread angle is like it depends on how widen or how narrow that you want to like make the distance between this bullet and this bullet or this bullet or this bullet. So at the angle offset is much more like depends on the position that where they are, but it has to base on the number in computer. So what does it mean? It looks like, for example, if I have 5 bullets over here, so it has to start from 0 to 4. So this is how it works. Okay, so the index 0, so we need to like 0 minus middle index because 2 is in the middle, so we have to minus by 2 and multiply by 30. Okay, so since our spread angle is 30 over here, so that's why we need to multiply by 30, so equals to minus 60. So which means the index, index 0 or over here is the position is minus 60. Index 1, that's 1. 1 minus 2 multiplied by 30 equals to minus 30. So that means this position is minus 30. As for 2, because this is in the middle, so that means this one is 0. As for 3, 4, well, since this one is minus 60 minus 30, so 3 is plus 30 and plus 60. Okay, so you can just temporarily pause the video over here, and you can check out how the logic it works. Next part we are going to create is to spread the bullet projectiles in even number. Just like what we have done for the odd number part, we will set up the stuff first before proceed to the explanation part. So let's go back to the BP third person character over here, and below it we just use the key E over here. Okay, so the next thing is just like, okay, a bit similar to the odd number but tiny bit different. So we just go to for loop. As for the last index, we also need to promote it, but this time a bit different is that instead of last index odd number, underscore odd number, this time is underscore even number. And this time we just need to like spawn 4 bullets now. Compile it. So because it's 4 bullets, so 4 minus 1, so equals to 3. And again, we also from the loop body over here, we also need the angle offsets. So we just copy it, paste it here, and connect with it. Okay, so the calculations over here is a bit different. So we just directly multiplied it. And after that, we just use the spread angle odd number. Okay, we just duplicate it. This time is spread angle even number, underscore even number. And we just need to widen up like 60 instead of 30. And okay, here, and divide it by the last index over here. Okay, fine. Divide it and multiply it over here and minus it up, subtract, and using the spread angle even number over here and divide it by 2, and then connect it to angle offset. Okay, this is not how it works because we shouldn't have this convert here, nodes over here. Okay, we just do it minus subtract like this over here, over here. As after that, we can just directly copy this over here, the spawn and the location and spawn location over here. I mean rotation. Oops. Here, here, here. Copied it and paste. Actually, should have converted over here to, this part to function instead, but never mind about that. Okay, that's it. Okay, now we have set up for that and compile it as test it out. Oh, never mind, just over here. Okay, since we have set up for the key is E, so press E. Now this is how it looks like when you spawn 4 bullets, and again. Okay, nice. Now we have done setting up the even number part. I'll be explaining how it works. So same as before, it is only just full of talking with no work to do, so can just temporarily leave the keyboard for the time being. So as you can see is that the for loop and the angle offset is totally the same as the odd number parts over here, but the only difference is over here, as you can see, is that it -1 and multiplied by the spread angle odd numbers. As for the even number, you can see that there are something a bit different with this part, which is over here. But why do we need to do the divide using the spread angle divided by last index even numbers, or need to divide by 20? Like we also need to do some multiply root and minus, which has many 2 or 3 kinds of okay, 1, 2, 3, yeah, 3 kinds of different formulas or calculation over here. So I think you have already realized that based on the results that we have already made, it's over here. You can see that there are the 4 bullets when you spawn so from the spread origin here, just which is just like this. Okay, so if I spawn it, as you can see is that there is no bullets that spawn from the middle, just like the odd numbers over here. So it's just like as something similar to like how I draw over here, is that the bullet is just spawned in this kind of direction, but not in the center line. So that's because that for the even numbers, the bullets will never spawn in the center line. So let's say that if I just using the what's it called again, the odd numbers calculation over here. So let's say that okay, I just change the odd numbers to like 3. So this is how it looks like. So if I press Q, as you can see that the 4 bullets is actually spawned out, but the direction is a bit look odd. So as you can see that there's a bullet already spawned somewhere actually here, but not the other side. So this result is not really the one that we want to see. So that's why we just need to make the result is something similar to here. But let's take that over here, the invisible center line over here. So it looks like it's actually separated everything by 2. And just one more thing is that you might be a bit confused, is that why there's a 20 degree, 20 degree, 20 degree instead is over here, instead that we already set the spread angle even number to 60. So this is how it works. This is what we actually call step angles for this 20 degree. So what is step angle is that it's using the amount of space between each bullet in the spread. It's over here. But it's already calculated by dividing the total spread angle by the number of gaps between the bullets, which is always 1 less than the number of bullets. So that's how we calculated the spread angles, which is 60. which here's the example: 60 divided by 4 minus 1 equals to 20. The 4 is which is written over here is number in real life. So this is how it works. Just let me change the odd numbers to like 2. So that's why if we want to spawn 4 bullets, so it has to be 3. So 3, okay, 60 over here divided by 4 minus 1, so equals to 3. So this is how the answers to put like that way. And one more thing is that here's you might see that why do we need the minus spread angle even number and divided by 2, and so that it can become the angle offset. This is the calculation for the even number itself. So let's move it to this part, and this is how the formula works on angle offset to using the total bullet desired to spawn, and this the overall angle offset is always involved with the numbers incorporated, which is everything start from 0 to any number is set for the last index, multiplied by step angles, which is over here, which is 20 degrees, 20 degrees, 20 degrees over here, and minus out by the spread angles, which is 60. We have already set divided by 2. So here's the example. So let's say that so just like similar to like the odd number part. So this is the minus 30, minus 10, plus 10, and plus 30. So which means that, I think I forgot to put the number over here. So it's 0, 1, 2, and 3. So the position 0 is over here is minus 30 and minus 10, and 10 and 30 is more like a mirror itself. So I think you might be a bit confusing that why do we need to like minus and the spread angle has to divided by 2. So here's the explanation over here. The reason why we need to minus up these two parts over here. Okay, I think I'll use the different pen colors over here is because that we need to shift the entire spread to control the center. Since we do not have any centers like over here, it's not like the odd number, so it's much more like a mirror of this colors. Like let's say that there's an invisible center lines over here, we just make it like it's actually spread like a mirror, like spread it evenly like this way. As for the reason for spread angle is divided by 2, which is over here, is the angles to me has to be equally distributed on both sides of the center line. But let's say that we not divided, all bullets will be pushed to some kinds of weird directions. So here is the demonstration. Okay, and one more thing is that focusing on the forward direction. And here is the demonstration that I'll show to you. For example, like if I don't divide it by 2, if I just directly connect it to here, like minus up by the spread angle over here, is how it looks like. Let's say that if I press E, see, this is how it shows up, or maybe some result like that way, and that's not what we want to see. So let's say that if I divide it by 1, actually 1 is still the same, sorry. So if I let's say I divide it by 3, if I press E, it just change back to like odd numbers result. So that's why we need to divide it by 2 instead. So if we divide it by 2, here's how it looks like. And one last thing that we need to explain about is that, okay, about the spawn part over here, that about the rotation and the location. Well, the location is much more easier to explain it. Is that we just need to get the cube spot point, which is this cube over here, the world location where it is, and then bit difficult to like explain about is the rotation itself. Is that because we need to see we have involved with the angle offset, which is the angle for the bullets between bullets. So that's why we need to like do a bit of brake rotator or rotation manipulation for this part. So assume that we don't do any kinds of brake rotation or make rotator or stuff like that. We just directly connect it to the gap world rotation. It won't detect the angle offset over here. So let's say if I already directly connect to the gap world rotation, remember this is the odd number part. If I press play and I press Q over here, now you can see that only just this bullet spawn over like this way. Not the way that we really want to do it. If I connect it back and press Q, this is how it should work. And that's just like what I've done just now. You can just pause the video here. Alright, this should do it. You can pause the video here and take a look of this logic here. Now you have learned how to create the bullet projectile spread system with equal angles, and the system doesn't limit to odd numbers or even numbers of the bullet projectile spread, and understand the logic behind it. I hope the explanation doesn't cause too much confusion and can be a helpful info to you. So that's pretty much of it, and thank you for watching.